Hello everyone, it's time to review the results of the 3-card blind main event tournament for May. Yet again, we continue to see this community growing and growing. This month, there were 274 participants, 85 of which were brand new players to the main event. So if you're a new player watching this video, welcome and thank you for trying out the format. Among the 274 submissions, there were 214 unique decks, which is a really high number. Now, if we weigh these decks by their performance and run them through the Simpsons Diversity Index, we will see that this month was an improvement in diversity compared to the previous one, but it pretty closely resembles what we'd expect from a typical month in this format. The 3-card blind diversity grade for this month was a B. The most popular card this month was City of Traitors, which is not that surprising given that it was just recently unbanned, and having a new mana source to play around with is very exciting for a lot of players. City of Traitors had an extremely mixed performance, resulting in it having only an average score of 50% despite how powerful the card is. Now don't make the mistake of seeing that number and assuming that City of Traitors was an average performing card. There were some extremely powerful City of Traitors based deck lists, including our highest win rate deck of the month. However, City of Traitors is also a very attractive card for casual players, and because of that, there were many deck lists that underperformed and dragged its win rate down. Unsurprisingly, the reintroduction of City of Traitors to the format brought back in a whole lot of colorless 2-drops like Isochron Scepter, Phyrexian Revoker, Steel Overseer, Hangarback Walker, and even Field of Ruin. Now, although the City of Traitors unban unquestionably had a significant impact on the meta, it didn't feel overwhelming. As I go through the winners, you will see that City of Traitors definitely was performing at the top of the meta, but there were many other decks that were able to coexist with it. Alright, and with that, let's begin to review our winners. In Group L, we had Cool Beans, who was playing Alpine Moon, Sen's Tactician, and Undiscovered Paradise. This is not a new deck list, but it is one that was very well positioned to take advantage of the City of Traitors unban by punishing players who played the card with Alpine Moon. Choosing to run Alpine Moon was a great call by Cool Beans and managed to earn them many free wins. In Group K, our winner was Jaws, who was playing Inkmoth Nexus, Mox Pearl, and Skrelv's Hive. Another reliable deck list that we've seen many times before, but with the prior month banning many similar 2-drops like Bitter Blossom, it has a lot less competition to hold it back. In Group J, our winner was MTG Jade, who was playing Island, Seize Claim, and Sleep Cursed Fairy, another deck that is aiming to punish non-basic land users. As a matter of fact, the top 4 decks in Group J were all using different forms of non-basic land disruption. If you were running non-basic land disruption this month, chances are you were eating well. In some of the pods that had a little bit less non-basic land disruption, the usual offender, Dark Depths, has continued to earn its reputation of being a deck that can easily grab a first place win. In Group I, we had Mixion, and in Group G, and you're gonna have to bear with me here, I don't know if this is Polish, but we're gonna take a shot at it, Niezła Giereczka Man, who were both playing Dark Depths, Thespian Stage, and Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. They were accompanied by Marl in Group F, who was playing Ancient Tomb, Dark Depths, and Thespian Stage. A pattern that seems to be emerging is that especially in lower elo and the new player groups, Dark Depths can easily grab first place wins just by being something that people might not be prepared to play around. And that isn't to say that Dark Depths doesn't perform well at high elo. We actually see Dark Depths perform pretty well at high elo regularly. But Dark Depths stomping a pod and claiming first place seems to be a pretty regular occurrence for new players and lower elo. I also do want to backtrack here and just highlight that Marl was using Ancient Tomb instead of City of Traitors, which I assume may have just been an accident, that maybe Marl didn't realize that City of Traitors was unbanned, but I find it kind of funny because losing 2 life tends to not matter in this match because either you're gonna have a 2020 Marit Lage or you're not, and there isn't really much of an in-between. In Group H, we had Space Squid, who was playing City of Traitors, Mana Vault, and Thought-Knot Seer. Space Squid was tied with Mixion for the highest win rate across all pods this month at a whopping 90% average score. As a fellow Thought-Knot Seer enjoyer, I was very happy to see this deck perform very well, and I'm curious to see if we'll see it more again in the future. In Group E, we had A Plague, who was playing City of Traitors, Field of Ruin, and Phyrexian Revoker. Having both Field of Ruin and Phyrexian Revoker sacrifices a bit of power, but offers a really versatile disruption suite, with both the ability to destroy non-basic lands and turn off mana rocks. In Group D, our winner was Qhov, who was playing Cathedral of War, Inkmoth Nexus, and the Filigree Silex. This is a very powerful deck, and one that we're going to return to later in this video to discuss further. In Group C, our winner was Malware Girl, who was playing Greater Gargadon, Plateau, and Restore Balance. This was a very refreshing deck to see win a pod. The deck is able to suspend both Restore Balance and Greater Gargadon, knowing that Restore Balance will go off, which means that opponents of this deck are put in a really uncomfortable position where anything they commit to the board will likely be wiped away, and anything they leave in their hand will likely be discarded. And if they can somehow manage to get through that, they're left staring down Greater Gargadon. In Group B, our winner was Nightcap, playing another very familiar deck, which was Energy Field, Sand Silos, and Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. Frankly, there isn't much to be said here that hasn't already been said. It turns out having a 2-mana card that makes you virtually invincible is a really good way to allow you to slow down the game to cast a haymaker like Ulamog. And finally, in Group A, we had a tie between Icorn and Subnova 42, who were both playing City of Traitors, Field of Ruin, and Hangarback Walker. I feel pretty comfortable saying that this is the deck that was best able to take advantage of the City of Traitors unban. Field of Ruin allows Icorn and Subnova both to be able to punish players for playing non-basic lands, and Hangarback Walker, a card that struggled to thrive when Ancient Tomb was the only soul land that was legal, has suddenly become what might be the best 2-drop available. Now we have a bit more to discuss here in regards to the ban vote, but before we get to that, let's congratulate our winners one more time. I'd also like to issue a special congratulations to Icorn, who has claimed the #1 spot on the lifetime leaderboard with an ELO of 1859. This makes Icorn our new champion, and also one of the very few players who has claimed this title more than once. And with that, let's begin to talk about the ban vote that will affect next month's main event. First, I'd like to talk about Hangarback Walker, which is uniquely not part of the ban vote this month, but it is a card we need to talk about either way. I will link this video in the description, but for those of you who didn't see it, I recently discussed how Hangarback Walker was involved in a match that was so complicated that we weren't able to practically resolve it in the time frame that we needed to keep the tournament running. At this point, we have pretty conclusive evidence that the Elixir of Immortality deck will win if it takes the first turn of the game, but when it takes the second turn, things are so complicated that we still haven't gotten concrete proof as to whether the Elixir of Immortality deck wins there or not. Anyways, because matches like this pose a huge burden of labor that has to be done to make the tournament run effectively, this was a topic that was discussed seriously among myself and all of the gurus. And there were many differing and totally valid opinions among the gurus, so I won't pretend here like we came to some kind of unanimous consensus as to how to handle this situation. That being said, Hangarback Walker was already a very high-performing card that was likely to be targeted by this ban vote anyways, and for that reason, it is being emergency banned until future notice. So the first card that is actually properly part of the community ban vote this month is Cathedral of War, which returns us to Qhov's deck list of Cathedral of War, Inkmoth Nexus, and the Filigree Silex. Now the reason I am picking on Qhov's deck is not actually because of anything that Qhov has done, it is because in Group A, which is our high elo pod, we saw 6 decks that were running the combination of Cathedral of War and Inkmoth Nexus together. Neither of these two cards were used separately in Group A either, and seeing this level of consensus from our highest ELO players about a specific package being extremely strong is an indicator that it might be too strong. Cathedral of War overall had a marginally higher average score than Inkmoth Nexus, and Cathedral of War also brings a lot less diversity to the meta than Inkmoth Nexus itself does. Cathedral of War really only operates in tandem with Inkmoth Nexus, whereas Inkmoth Nexus can support a lot of different strategies on its own. Depending on how future months go, we may need to return to Inkmoth Nexus on a later date, but for the time being, banning Cathedral of War is likely to improve the diversity of our meta, especially at higher ranks. Next up, we have Dark Depths. And the reality here is that Dark Depths keeps winning and winning and winning, month after month, especially in new player pods and in lower ELO pods. There have been points in time where Dark Depths has performed less effectively, but it is getting a little exhausting to be announcing that Dark Depths has won yet again every month. I think banning Dark Depths will challenge people to brew with some more creative builds and open some breathing room for other decks to survive. It is also not as though Dark Depths is some sort of fringe pick that people are not expecting. It has been around for so long, and it's also the 6th most popular card this month and still managed to maintain a 65% win rate. Frankly, it just feels like free ELO, and at this point I'm ready to say enough is enough. For our next card, we have a pretty similar situation, which is Energy Field. Despite not reaching the same sort of popularity that Dark Depths has, Energy Field is another very reliable performer that consistently manages to grab first placed wins. I think Energy Field has been long overdue for a ban, and there is a perfectly viable card to take its place, which is Island Sanctuary. So an Energy Field ban wouldn't really fundamentally change this deck or strategy, it just nerfs it a little bit and makes it more vulnerable to flyers. And finally, our last card on the list is City of Traitors. As mentioned earlier in the video, it has a seemingly benign looking average score, but as we saw this month, many of our first place winners were running City of Traitors. The advantages that it provides over Ancient Tomb are quite tangible. That being said, City of Traitors being included in the ban vote this month is largely to give the community the chance to rebuttal the unban of the card. I suspect that the supporters of this channel that participate in the unban vote are a relatively representative sample of this community. However, if there's ever a misalignment of what the supporters want compared to the rest of the community, I think it's important to allow for these rebuttal reban votes to happen regularly. And on this subject, I would like to remind everyone that if you're interested in participating in the unban vote, any folks who support the channel through Patreon or as YouTube members, as well as folks who boost our Discord server, will get access to this exclusive unban vote. Thank you again everyone for participating. It's been a privilege to see this community continue to grow. Thanks for watching everyone, and see you soon.